Joining me today, I have Stephen and Marcella Parr. They are facilitators of a specific group that we're going to be getting into right away. But Marcella also works with Canadian Bible Society. Thank you both for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I was wondering, before we get into this amazing opportunity for people, tell us just a little bit about yourselves.
So let me start. I was actually born here in Manitoba, but both Steve and I have worked overseas with a mission for 20 years, and we were in 3 African countries, and I am a nurse.
Wow.
Right. And when we returned back to Canada, Marcella worked with the Toronto City
Public health.
Public Health, yeah, and in the area of mental health. When we returned, I went back to school and got a degree in counseling, and so I'm a registered psychotherapist.
Wow, both of you just giving and such an incredible backstory. I'm really glad you shared that with us today. Thank you. I would love for you to tell me and our listeners about this upcoming group that Canadian Bible Society is putting on called Caring for the Wounded Heart, Bible-based trauma healing group. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is a group that is participatory, and the material that we used has been developed by the Trauma Healing Institute. And so it's based on good biblical wisdom. It has on proven mental health practices, and it provides a safe community for people to talk about some of their pain, their loss, and their trauma. And this material was developed in response to pastors in Africa, because their people were asking them for some kind of help in war-torn countries. And so out of a response to that, this material was developed, and it has been adapted now for a Canadian audience as well. And that is the material that we will be using at our healing group.
That's amazing. I would love to know, listening to that, some people who hear this might be like, okay, well, I haven't been in a war. Maybe this course isn't for me. But could you clarify, like, what really is trauma and who is this course for?
Right, yeah. So it really relates, your question relates to the title of what we're offering, the wound of the heart. What is the wound of the heart? So it's basically trauma, but it's a deep suffering that we feel, and it touches every part of our lives. Of course, the definition of trauma is an experience that overwhelms our ability to cope. So that's what we're looking at is this wound of the heart, and what we're offering is the Bible's response to that, and it flows from Isaiah 61, where Jesus outlines his mission as one who brings good news to the poor, binds up the brokenhearted, proclaims freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, and to comfort all who mourn. Isaiah 61, 1-4, I believe it is. And we see that continued in Acts. Right at the very beginning of the book of Acts, Luke says, all that Jesus began to do and teach. And so what we understand of the church's ministry these days is a continuation of that very ministry that is outlined in Isaiah 61. Good news to the poor, binding up the brokenhearted, release to the captives, etc. So that's what it's really all about, is bringing God's resources into people's lives, providing opportunity for them to experience that.
That is incredible. I would love to know, you two have such incredible life experience. Why did you two decide to volunteer your time in something like this?
Well, I think after retirement, there is more. And so it's always been in my heart to reach out to people and support them and to listen to their pain. Doesn't only have to be trauma, but loss and grief and other difficulties and challenges that people go through. And so when we first heard about Caring for the Wounded Heart, it just seemed like this was a ministry that we could get involved in, and that would help us to continue to support others and share God's love with them.
And with our from our backgrounds, Marcella in mental health consultancy with the public health, and with my training in counseling and trauma, we saw that the principles that are well established in terms of understanding trauma and how to treat it, they're found within this material. And it was developed by mental health professionals in relation to the overseas workers who wanted to respond to the needs overseas. So that's why we got involved. We saw that it was good. It was good material, and the Bible base is solid, and it has good mental health principles.
Absolutely. And it crosses over boundaries, it sounds like, because yes, you have Bible based, but you also have this that was created by mental health professionals. So they've been steeped in it in the world. And then you have this Bible based on top. I think it's fantastic. How does this course help people navigate their trauma? I know that's a massive question, but maybe just generally.
So it is 6 sessions. And that is the basic 6, although there are other optional lessons. But when we start a healing group, and I just want to say it's not therapy, it is a healing group. And so we talk about what is the wound of the heart, what can help our heart wounds heal, what happens when someone is grieving, if God loves us, why do we suffer? Bringing our pain to the cross. And then we also have a session on how can we forgive others. And those are the 6 basic sessions that we start with. And they're usually, we like to give at least 2 hours, but 2.5 hours is better. And we will soon tell you more about when we're offering a group, but that'll be a 2.5 hour session.
So Marcella had mentioned that it's a participatory experience. So it's not a study in which we teach. We certainly look at scriptures and we have people reflect upon it, but it's all about people talking and getting in touch with things within their own lives and bringing that to the scriptures and seeing what God has to offer. When it comes to what people might expect or experience, what we know about wounds of the heart is that there's challenges to emotions, there's challenges to understanding, making sense of things, and there's challenges about what do we do with that pain that we've experienced. And so those things are all touched upon throughout these sessions that we facilitate.
And I think it is an opportunity, or we give people an opportunity to process some of what's going on in their lives. And people are invited to process as much as they want to or don't want to. And we invite God's Spirit to help people process that. And sometimes it's just the beginning of some healing. And maybe sometimes people go back late to some of the stuff later, and they think, yes, there's more that I want God to touch in my life.
Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity. And you have those 6 sessions. Are there any other opportunities or resources if people want to dive deeper after?
Yes, there's the 6 options, not 6. There's a couple of lessons like moral injury. How can we help children who have experienced bad things? There's a session that can be done on rape There's one on domestic abuse, suicide, addictions, caring for the caregiver. And so those are some. And then there's another whole book that has been developed, which is called Strength from Weakness. And some of these, the titles there are where we talk about wrestling with God, good and evil, generational trauma and blessing, shame and guilt, and so on. There's about 9 lessons that are part of that Strength from Weakness program.
So the group that we're offering, the sessions that we're offering are for people who have experienced some form of wound of the heart, but also for, these are also intended for anybody who would like to run a healing group. So it's a necessity that for their own training that they go through this themselves, but then there's follow-up training to help develop facilitators who want to lead a healing ministry within their church as well, or with, however they would like to do that. And we provide mentoring, as well, and assistance along the way.
Wonderful. So if people are interested in taking this course, whether for their own wounds or to potentially facilitate in the future, how can they get connected, and what are the timelines here?
So we are offering a group at the Canadian Bible Society bookstore, and it is starting on January 22nd, and our session will start at 7 and go till 9:30, and it's going to run for 6 consecutive Wednesdays. So I think the end date is February 26th. The bookstore is located at Unit 1340, 584 Pembina Highway. And I would say if for now, just call the bookstore, and their number is 204-257-8835.
And then they
can
can
direct
sign
them
up
to
that
me.
way?
Yeah, well, then we'll follow up from there. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, ask for Marcella if you are interested in checking this course out. Again, it starts January 22nd. Thank you both for taking your heart and your experience and truly blessing people with a course like this. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. It's a pleasure to be able to offer this, and we know from the testimonies of people all over the world, because it's been offered all over the world in different languages, that people have found hope, healing, comfort, and assurance and meaning through these healing groups.
Really appreciate it. Well, thank you both, and God bless you in all you do.
Thank you very much, Sylvia.